It's undeniable that the Anthropocene have seen the world change in many significant ways. Modern medicine, science, and technology have made us humans gold medalists of the animal kingdom in many respects. But when it comes to aging, we're far from the podium. Hi, I'm Stephen Austad, distinguished professor and holder of the Protective Life Endowed Chair in Healthy Aging Research at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. I've been studying animal aging for more than 3 decades, and I'm going to give you 5 tips from nature on what I've learned about aging. Tip number 1, get big. We all know this intuitively. We know that dogs live longer than mice, that horses live longer than dogs, and that elephants live longer than horses. Well, there's a reason for this. Energy. The processes of life flicker by faster for mice than dogs, or for dogs than horses, or for horses than elephants. Essentially, small animals like mice use up energy faster than bigger dogs. They breathe faster, they grow up faster, their hearts beat faster, their muscles contract faster, they digest food faster, and their blood and skin cells are replaced faster. You get the idea. Being a small mammal, living fast, generally means living short. Same with birds. Crows live longer than sparrows. Eagles live longer than crows. It's also true for salamanders, clams, and snakes. There are exceptions to the size rule, though. Some species live shorter than expected for their size. Others live much longer. For instance, there's a species smaller than a mouse that lives longer than any dog, but we'll get to that later. Generally, though, size matters. Guess what kind of mammal is the only one that lives more than 2 centuries? It's this guy, the bowhead whale. Better to be a whale than a mouse if you want to live long. Lesson number 2, get a crown. Elizabeth II, former Queen of the United Kingdom, was 96 years old when she passed away. Her husband, Prince Philip, was 99 when he died, and her mother, also Elizabeth, lived to the ripe old age of 101. These royals had impressively long lives. You might be more impressed if royalty lived, say, 2 millennia. Well, actually, this isn't as far-fetched as you might think. Queen ants live as much as 30 times longer than their workers. That is, their commoner daughters. Yes, workers are all daughters of the queen. Those workers provide food, care for the babies, clean up around the palace, or as we might say of ants, the nest. If worker ants lived as long as most humans, then some ant queens would live as long as 2,000 years. Queens don't survive this long by being lazy, though. They may have workers to provide for their every need, but they still have to pump out egg after egg after egg as often as once a minute for nearly 30 years. So be a monarch if you want to live longer. But if that sounds unachievable, you can always, tip number 3, be a bat. The species that are smaller than mice but live longer than dogs, the ones I mentioned earlier, are bats. Yes, the one group of mammal that flies is also the group that lives the longest of all mammals, if you take size into effect. The longest live bats, Brandt's bat, which lives in Europe and Asia, is about 1/4 the size of a mouse, and it's known to have lived more than 40 years in the wild. Now think about that. Something smaller than a mouse has avoided predators and lethal infections, survived storms, droughts, and other weather extremes, and still managed to catch sufficient prey for more than 4 decades. You might know that insect-eating bats like Brandt's bat rely on sonar, that is, hearing high-pitched echoes of their own screams in order to locate flying prey in the dark. That means that Brandt's bat has maintained its high-pitched hearing for more than 4 decades as well. That, folks, is much longer than humans maintain their high-pitched hearing. Pretty impressive if you ask me. Tip number 4. If you can't be a bat, then be a bird. Yes, those living feathered descendants of the dinosaurs are also exceptionally long-lived for their size. We know a lot more about the longevity of birds than bats because legions of professional and amateur ornithologists for the last century have been putting identification rings on millions of birds of all sizes, and when those rings are seen again or recovered from dead birds, we learn how long they live. And while bat researchers have been tracking bats too, there are many fewer bat researchers than there are professional and amateur ornithologists for obvious reasons. So how long can birds in nature live? Well, to take one example, the most common bird in the world is a house sparrow. It's the same size as a mouse, which lives at most a little bit more than a year in the wild, but the house sparrow is known to live up to 20 years in the wild. A seabird slightly larger, the Manx shearwater, is about the size of a rat and can live up to 55 years in the wild. What makes this particularly remarkable is that they undergo a grueling annual migration from the North Atlantic Ocean, where they breed, to the coast of Brazil and Argentina, where they spend the winter. One ornithologist, in fact, calculated that a 50-year-old Manx shearwater would have flown more than 5 million miles during its lifetimes. That's equivalent to flying 200 times around the globe. So to live long, flying helps. Alternative, you could try tip number 5, live cold and slow. What do I mean by that? Life flickers by fast for small mammals or birds, but it drags by slowly if you're a large, cold-blooded animal living in a cold environment. The poster child for living long, cold, and slow is no doubt the Greenland shark, one of the largest shark species on Earth. We don't know exactly how long they live. Try ringing and recapturing one of these guys like you can with birds. But radiocarbon dating of a permanent part of their eyelids gives a rough estimate of almost 400 years for some of them. More intriguing to me as a biologist is that they aren't reproductively mature until about 150. That's a long adolescence, if you ask me. Now, when I said they live long, slow, and cold, it's because they're cold-blooded, they live in near-freezing water, they have a heart rate of only 5 beats a minute, and they swim slower, if you can believe this, than most 80-year-old humans walk. Their metabolism is so slow, in fact, that it's been calculated they can survive a year on only 1 meal of a smallish seal. If you want to live a long time, and at the same time save on grocery bills, live slow and cold. We human beings are very good at killing animals and driving species to extinction. Up to 15,000 vertebrate species are currently being threatened, but we're much less good at nurturing and appreciating their long lives. We need to learn from our fellow travelers on this earth. We need to be humble. We need to recognize our own place in the much wider, beautiful animal kingdom. And we need to help every creature within it to live long and happy lives.